Excluding their special editions, the ones with million-dollar price tags that you'll likely never see, Aston Martin essentially sells three cars. The range-topping $300,000+ DBS Superleggera that I actually tested earlier this year, the DB11 Grand Tourer, and this, the brand's most popular and affordable sports car, the Vantage.
If you could spend $150,000 on a two-seater, would you? And if so, where would you turn? The Germans all offer something that might tickle your fancy, but if you're seeking something a little more exotic and exclusive, the Vantage is there for you. The cachet of the AM badge is greater than the others, and with less than 100 Astons sold here per month, you're unlikely to encounter another Vantage on the road, and that rarity appeals to me.
This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Vantage name, with more than 36,000 of them produced during that time period. The vast majority of them from the previous generation, sold here from 2006 to 2017. I tested a GT Roadster 5 years ago and absolutely loved it. And now a new Vantage is born, with both its appearance and performance intensified.
A new lightweight aluminum-intensive architecture, fortified by a twin-turbo V8 driving the rear wheels through a rear mid-mounted 8-speed auto, the Vantage is a car that has been engineered for life beyond the streets. 50-50 weight distribution, special attention to aero to minimize lift, specially designed Pirelli rubber, adaptive dampers, and an electronically controlled rear differential. Minus dry sump lubrication, the track day resume is as solid as the body itself. It's a driver's car for sure, and with Aston's debut of torque vectoring and the e-diff, the Vantage's robust power can be more confidently explored.
Did you know that Aston Martin hasn't designed an engine in-house since 1968? All of their new cars, including this Vantage, are powered by Mercedes-AMG. Tuned by Aston. And the Mercedes influence doesn't end here.
The company's V12 dates back to their Ford days, but this 4-liter V8 has been sourced from AMG and can be found in the DB11 and upcoming DBX. Moving away from the naturally aspirated engine, you might think that acoustics have been sacrificed, but just listen for yourself. The sound becomes more boisterous with each flick of the drive mode switch. The Vantage starts up in Sport mode, the most relaxed sound and transmission settings appropriate for normal driving. And then there's Sport Plus and Track. Now unfortunately, the modes only go one way, meaning you have to cycle through Track each time to get back to Sport. And then independently on the left are the shock settings, which go from tight but everyday livable to completely unyielding. Steering effort is also tied in, and the fixed paddle shifters for the ZF 8-speed fire off the fastest non-DCT gear changes I've ever experienced, making them so much fun to use.
The Vantage is marketed as raw and instinctive, and indeed, this beautiful body belies the car's edgier persona. Super wide tires make for a loud cabin. The engine can feel like a caged animal on the verge of escape. The steel brakes grab with the ferociousness of carbon ceramics. And then you've got this racing-inspired steering wheel, deep, firm buckets, and a squinty little windshield to look through. And with a turbo-boosted 503 horsepower on tap, this car demands your respect.
With a 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds and a top speed of 195 miles per hour, this is one of the fastest cars I have tested. And at first, I was a little uncertain about the level of grip, but these 295s hook up beautifully. So within a couple of days, I felt like I was in control, and the trust just built from there. You can remove the traction and ESP settings in 2 stages for some smoky burnouts, but leave everything on and you can tackle your favorite roads with supreme confidence. Any oversteer can be quickly reined in. Inside, you'll find lots of familiar Mercedes electronics and controls, but not their latest ones. So in that regard, the Vantage's cabin is the car's weakest link. It's an exotic with mainstream brand hand-me-downs. With an as-tested price of $171,000, you won't find items such as Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, cooled seats, any kind of special ambient lighting, adaptive headlights, heads-up display, remote start, adaptive cruise control, or a stereo with a subwoofer. And though it's really wide, it's quite claustrophobic in here, very dark and loud. Not the kind of traits you want in a daily driver. Gas mileage is surprisingly good, however, rated at 21 mpg combined with a 405-mile driving range. And because there's lots of room back here with a clever folding divider, out-of-town trips are definitely in play, as long as your traveling companion is willing to make some comfort sacrifices. The 360-degree camera is the most modern thing in here, and welcome, because the greenhouse is very small. A couple of other complaints. The park assist sensors are crazy aggressive and beep if anything is within a mile of the car, and low-speed maneuvering is met with odd sensations of tire skip that Aston Martin says is normal for this car. The Mercedes-AMG GT-R is one of my favorite cars in recent memory, and these two are quite similar, and I think I'm Camp Mercedes on this one. But there's no doubting the Vantage's excessive curb appeal, and if you drive with a purpose, this is a car that will endlessly entertain. For TestDriveNow.com, I'm Steve Hammis.